Dave Landrum. Okay, so I
Yeah.
got a couple questions here for you, Dave. Just quick
Shoot,
interview.
man.
All right. First of all, where do you live, sir?
Born and raised and still currently reside in St. Louis, Missouri.
St. Louis, Missouri. Is that for all the people who don't live up there? Is that far from Ferguson?
From where I'm at, I'm in the city, so I'm really only like 15 minutes away from Ferguson. It's literally like one street, and like 10, 15 minutes, I'm down there.
Oh wow.
So,
Okay. Well, what was that like for you?
oh, the Ferguson situation.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, St. Louis has a long and strong racial history. So, I mean, for anybody who knows anything about history, I mean, you kind of come to expect it. St. Louis has been a boiling point for a while because I mean, like, but yeah, man. I mean, St. Louis has been one of those places where there's been a lot of like unnecessary stops of like young black men, especially in the St. Louis County area, like Ferguson and like further north, you get stopped. DWB driving while black, if you see like three black guys in a car, they automatically try to profile you in this. So, for those who want to know, I kind of seen it coming. I will say that they really overhyped the Ferguson situation.
Mm.
I mean, Ferguson was like the 2-3 square miles.
Mm.
They made it like the whole city was burning down, but it's clearly not the case.
Okay. Just that gas station, right?
Yeah, just a gas station. There's a Walmart down the street that got broke into. A few little other places, but niggas on there trying to sell one rim. You broke the shop, you got one rim, and now dumb people are like on Facebook, like, hey, I got this rim, and if anybody got 3 more to match this, I'll be like, for real, the feds just gonna come get y'all, like.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next question for you. Are you active in your community, sir?
Oh man, absolutely, absolutely. I wouldn't have it the other way.
What
I
kind of
mean,
work do
some.
you do?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a mentor per se, but I mean, my church home and conversation as far as like church, I've been in this particular area for the past 12 years. So where I live at in my neighborhood is where I work at and have been working at for the past 12 years. So we do after school programs, we do summer programs, and more of an Afrocentric program, trying to teach the kids, like, hey, you're better than your environment, you're better than this and that, you can have a bright future. And I'm definitely pleased to report that it's a group effort. It's not just me. It's a whole team of people. We've had a 100% graduation rate for like the past 12 years.
Mm.
Yeah, so I mean that's something positive for the black community. Like all around guy. I sweep, I mop, I clean, I'll tutor, I'll cut grass. I'll sing, I'll do a lecture, which I do enjoy doing lectures. But
Oh, really? What do you
all
lecture
around
on?
guy, man.
What do you lecture on?
It just depends on what subject is on my heart. One lecture I did, I call it "A Nation Betrayed." And I basically used the story of Jesus' betrayal by two individuals that was really close to him to teach black people that we're not to trust everybody as a community. So anytime I don't necessarily call them I call them like lectures or lessons. I always use the Bible to parlay like, hey, this passage is kind of like, hey, rise up against the system. You know what I mean? So I mean,
Well,
when I
that's interesting. That's interesting that you use Jesus in your lectures. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
that's my mom, Yannick.
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
All right. So, Yeah, it's interesting you bring up Jesus. But now a question for you is, what is your religion, sir?
I'm not religious. I'm a spiritual cat. I used to be religious. I grew up in a ultra conservative, predominantly white Church of Christ. You know, you couldn't wear shorts, you couldn't wear short sleeves, and all this whole other traditional stuff. And then, I mean, as the years, as I grew older, and like different people in my life, I've learned that you know Christianity is not the source. There was spirituality before there came into the religion. Then when you look at the etymology of the root word of religion, it literally means to bind, to keep you entrapped. So I mean, I just studying and through different people, man, I left all that behind. But the thing about it is, here's the dichotomy. The fact of the matter is, most black people aren't leaving the church. That's most of us aren't leaving the church, and that's okay. You don't have to leave the church, because there was a time, like 2 generations ago, probably like your grandparents, our grandparents, beyond, where the church used to be the center of the black community. That used to be the place where they had like all of their town hall meetings and all of their like strategic meetings. I mean, Martin Luther King came out of the church. That's where they held all of their strategy meetings. So, it's not so much about the church or the Bible, even though the Bible has different bits and pieces in it that is not correct, a whole lot of shit. But I mean, it's just like they can use it to tell you to obey your master and all this, that, and the third. Well, I feel like I could use that same book to uplift black people and teach them to do whatever it is that the lesson is talking about.
That was that last part. Answer my next question. I was going to hit you with a tough one. The question would have been, if you are not religious, how can you use Jesus to mentor the youth? But I believe you answered that.
Yeah, somewhat. I can go a little bit deeper than that if you want me to. I mean, the story of Jesus is actually a very radical story. Like, Jesus wasn't no punk. Not at all. Like, he got mad at people hustling and selling stuff in the temple. He started kicking people out and flipping over tables. I mean, this is the guy who was amongst the poor, the destitutes, the prostitutes, the layman's, the cripples, the thieves.
So he was a real G.
Right. If you really looking at the story, it's not just, oh, Jesus was a man that he lived for this time and then he went and died on the cross. Like, no, there's a whole section in between that you missed. I mean, it's the same guy who told his disciples, I forget what chapter and verse it is, but he told his disciples, he says, grab your sword. He says something to the effect of grab your sword, and if you don't have a sword, sell your tunic to go get one. Which means Jesus was like, look, we're going to be out here. You need to be able to defend yourself. So I would use something like that in conjunction with a book like Negroes with Guns and use that as a lesson to be like, hey, black people, it's okay to defend yourself. And here's Jesus' perfect example of this. You see what I'm saying?
So Jesus said, get the strap.
Yeah, essentially for that time, yeah.
Some might say that us as black people, what we're taught about Jesus was used to oppress us. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. The first slave ship that brought us over here was the good ship, Jesus. And we know that Jesus was invented in 325 AD by the Council of Nicaea. So, yes, absolutely, Jesus was used to oppress people.
All right. Are you in a relationship?
Am I in a relationship? No, I am not in a relationship.
Why not, sir?
I'm not a person who necessarily goes out and looks for relationships. I'm sort of passive in that aspect. I do have a lot of females who try to get at me, but from my perspective, like, I'm not interested, and usually if I'm not interested, I'm not going to deal with you at all. And then, I'm sort of a different cat. I'm on a different wavelength than a lot of women, so it's kind of hard to connect with people on that type of level. I mean, when I do have relationships, it's all good. I entertain a few females here and there, but
Okay.
I mean, for the most part, I'm just focused on building my business, man, and I mean, working in my community. And if a female comes along, a female comes along.
If a female comes along, what would be the number one thing or number one aspect of that female that would appeal to you?
Let me see. Looks is what gets you in the door. I definitely like the chocolate women that look like they came straight from like Senegal or somewhere. But I want to say like knowledge of self. And I don't mean no like, hey, we was kings. That just know who you are and what you want, especially like us being in our 30s, late 20s, 30s. By now, you should have a pretty good understanding of who you are and what you want out of a relationship or what you want out of life. So I feel like you should be able to sit down as an adult and properly articulate your words by saying, hey, this is who I am. These are the things that I do. This is what I'm looking for. What are you looking for? What are our similarities? What are our differences? Can we work together? The chemistry might be good, but if we don't have the same goals as far as trying to get somewhere in a better place in life, then, I really can't talk to you, even though the vibes might be good because we're not on the same wavelength.
What race, if you had to choose two races to date, what two races would you choose, first and second?
Black/African and African/Black. Those are my two choices.
All right. That one's going to go well with the viewers.
Look, man, I could get a white girl, but I ain't trying to be like Emmett Till.
All right.
Fact.
Facts.
So,
all right. Do you have any children?
I have any children? No kids.
Why not, sir?
Because these females ain't got no act right.
Fair enough. Do you own your own business?
Yes, I do. I own a lawn care landscaping business, or as I like to call land care, called More Lawns.
More, M-O-R-E?
M-O-O-R, More, as in the brothers who taught the Europeans how to bathe, how to take their animals out of their house and put them outside where they belong. Those brothers. And I'm not a Moor. I'm not a Hebrew Israelite, none of that. I just wanted to pay homage to my ancestors with my first business, and that's pretty much what it is. So,
what made you start your own business?
Oh man, between the racism and me just generally being smarter than majority of my white bosses. Like, you get tired of busting your butt, working for several companies, and then the moment you ask for a raise or a lead position or something that that you're well qualified for, all of a sudden, that's divisive. We're going to have to see. Like, I got tired of working for people where I feel like I'm not getting ahead. Feel like I'm hitting my head above the glass ceiling because of somebody who doesn't want to necessarily see me win. I mean, you already paying me $8-9 an hour, so that really shows you how much you care about me as an employee from Jump Street. And between that and the fact that we as the African diaspora, whether you're Jamaican or whatever, if you identify yourself as an African, us Africans do not have our enough businesses, especially here in America, especially here in St. Louis, where I reside. There's not enough black businesses. The reason why our kids can't get hired is because we're not hiring them. That's the problem. Our kids got to get bussed out or driven out to white folk land in order to find a halfway decent job. You know, me, I'm like, look, I want to provide opportunities for other young black men and women. You know what I mean? I want to be in a position of power. There's two types of people in this world. There's those who work for the bank, and then there's those who own the bank. I want to own. That's my type of mentality. So in owning the bank, there are certain sacrifices and things that you must do. It's hard work involved, but the rewards for owning the bank are much better than those who's working for the bank. If I own the bank, I can go on vacation anytime I want to, and I'm still going to get a check hit my account. It's U.S. Bank going to pop up. They're going to send me an email. Your direct deposit just hit your account. I'm like, thank you, U.S. Bank. I appreciate that. While I'm sitting on the beach next to Rihanna drinking the Mai Tai.
What difficulties do you face with starting your own business?
I guess maybe people expecting too much work for the amount of money, or it's being cheap. I mean, generally, I'm relatively fair with my prices because all of my customers currently are black. It's not to say I wouldn't do work for anybody else, but all of my customers are black. And I like to provide a decent price and make sure your yard looks flawless before I leave. So, I mean, I have had one customer, she's cheap, or maybe my father spoiled her by giving her the family and friends discount for so many years. But I did a landscaping job for her, and I was only going to charge her $150. And I mean, that doesn't include me. Not like she bought the materials. So if I had bought the materials, then it would have cost more because now I have to charge you. But I don't think us black people understand the difference between a hustle and a business. I can get out here and get lawnmowers and trimmers and hustle. It's tax-free. I'm paying myself. I'm paying whoever I'm working for. But that's it. That's all I'm going to charge you for. I'm just going to charge you for labor and maybe a little bit of material. Well, I am no longer hustling. I'm running a business, which means I have to upcharge so I can have money to reinvest back into my business. So I can no longer charge you $20 an hour strictly for labor. Now I got to charge you like $30 an hour, $40 an hour for labor. So I can get my pay as an employee of the company, and also the company will have money to continue to operate. So I think that's the difference. We don't understand the difference between a hustle and an actual business.
Fair enough. And you said your business is Moore Lawns?
Yes, MOOR Lawns.
And
You can follow me.
what's the contact
More Lawns St.
information?
Louis. Yes, you can find my company on Instagram and Facebook. That's More Lawns St. Louis, MOOR LAWNSST Lewis. It's all one word. My contact information is 314-536-6157. And I mean, that's how you contact me to get a hold to me as far as any yard work is concerned.